Good Wednesday, everyone, and happy tax day to you, Sid Peru. We all have our own idiosyncrasies. They make us who we are, they endear us to those closest to us, and at times push us further on their nerves. And we have to own up to them. So I'll start. I am a terrible companion for museums. You can just ask Miriam. I take forever to go through them. Add a Judaica section or a biblical archaeological section, and your day is sunk. And it's not just that, the time. I'm always there to push to see beyond the meager 3 sentences that seem to be the description of every item in the museum, regardless of its incredible historic and rich history. I particularly like encountering old Torah scrolls, Sifrei Torah. It's always nicer to see them in old shuls, but I love looking at them. There's so much that can be seen, gleaned, and learned from them. You look at the style of the script, and you can try to discern where the sofer, the scribe, is from, or what community used the Torah. How neat the Torah is ordered. How nice, straight are the margins, or are they a little bit unruly, can help measure the advent of the printing press and the changing conceptions of aesthetics that impacted the conception, the composition, and the image of that Torah. But above all, I like to try to count the lines on the Torah scroll. Not every Torah you see is laid out exactly the same way, even today, when so much of our Sifrei Torah have been standardized. But the lines, the number of lines, can potentially tell you so much and carries, at least for me, such an important and meaningful lesson. In the second of the 2 parshiot that we will read this Shabbat, we open with a detailed accounting of the 40 years journey, the sojourn in the desert. Vayichtov Moshe et Motseim lemaaseim al pi Hashem. And Moshe wrote all the waypoints on their journeys as directed by God. And this is a painstakingly exhaustive, sometimes exhausting list, recording each of the different stations the people traversed in the desert. In the minor tractate of Sofrim, this seemingly superfluous list is put to halachic work in laying out the laws of how to write a Torah scroll, a Sefer Torah. Sofrim teaches us that each piece of parchment should have 42 lines corresponding to the 42 journeys captured in our parsha. The Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, codifies this as halacha, 42 lines equaling 42 stops the Jews made in their march in the desert. And after all, it makes a lot of sense. If the Torah is to be our roadmap for life, it should celebrate the ideal that life is about the journeys we take. And therefore, each piece of parchment should correspond to the journeys that we took. In surprising contrast, however, Maimonides, the Rambam, rules that each piece of parchment should have no less than 48 lines. Why? Where does the Rambam get his 48 lines as opposed to the standard 42? Rambam's view is that each piece of parchment must not just represent the 42 stops of forward progression that we read about in our parsha, but also must include the 6 times that the Jewish people were forced to retreat from their desert travels. Part of the journey of life, inevitably, are setbacks, and they too are a critical part of the Torah of our sojourns. Towards the end of the Jewish people's time in the desert, the Jewish people revisit 6 of their previous encampments and encounter the mistakes that they made during their visits to those places. While we usually think of life as about moving forward, at times we need to retreat from the progress that we have made and take steps to look backwards with humility and evaluate our decisions and learn from our mistakes. And it's only through this process can we truly grow and move forward. This is especially true during these 3 weeks, where we not only mourn the destruction of the temple and the subsequent tragedies, but we are also pushed to retrace our steps, to reevaluate and consider the reasons why we lost it all in the first place. Sinat chinam, baseless hatred. To think about what sort of people we are and how we relate to others, to those who might be different, religiously, politically, racially. To paraphrase a quote, a post that I shared before Shabbat, it's a moment for us to think about that although we have strong beliefs concerning all sorts of controversial topics, we have to be able to make sure that we don't assume that those that oppose me are cruel, bad, less thought out than I am, just because we disagree. We are also unfortunately retracing steps in our battle against COVID-19. A second wave has reached many places in Israel and others, an intensification of the first wave. And on this journey that seems to be so surreal, perhaps we haven't internalized some of the important messages, lessons that we've accomplished and discovered over the last several months. The need for us to worry not just about our own health, but the responsibility we share with others, that when we wear a mask, we're not just protecting ourselves, but everyone around us. Making sure that we recognize that there's no such thing as being so religious that even if I don't feel well, I will come to shul and endanger others because of this virus. Or to find clever ways around the laws that provide and protect not just ourselves and others. I read of a brilliant ploy, an unfortunate ploy that happened in Israel as a gym was ordered to close, but then reopened quickly as a Beit Midrash as they played Torah tapes while people soul cycled. I pray we don't move backwards. And I think it's important that we make sure that we hold on to the lessons of the moments with humility, and that we should be blessed to continue on our journey of life, always looking forward, but having the humility sometimes to step back, learn from our setbacks, and then truly grow and push forward once again.